What is up? We're here, another episode of Fancasting, and this time we're Fancasting Inception with today's era. We're reviewing it like it's 2021 and we're casting Inception. So we're going to start off with Leonardo DiCaprio's character Cobb. Nick, who did you choose for that character?
Cobb is the emotional center of this film. You need someone. I mean, one, you're recasting Leo DiCaprio, which I think is definitely one of the hardest things we've attempted in fan casting because he's a legend. So I just had to focus on like what is it about Cobb? He's like this kind of like very like conflicted, very subtle, very like authoritative type, not necessarily authoritative in like a dominant way, but just sort of like he's a team leader. He's the one everyone. I decided to take a chance. I wanted to submit Mr. High Ground himself, Mr. Ewan McGregor, for the role of Dom Cobb. I think we know he can be. If you've seen Doctor Sleep, I think he can more than match the emotional like storm that like comes with the character of Cobb. He is so good at just portraying like a very like haunted like and if you've seen Doctor Sleep, you know that I use that word literally in reference to that. Like he can be so good at portraying like a very haunted persona. We know he can do action from Star Wars, and we can also know from Star Wars that he can be like he's like the one like kind of like everyone looks to everyone like kind of like just like knows like he's kind of like we don't need to worry about him because he's got it kind of figured out, or he's like that good leader role. If you've seen him in like just in like Fargo, for instance, he can just be a very like he can very much fly off the handle. There are several scenes where Cobb is like calm, but he can like get like really like agitated. And I think McGregor is more than capable of just like hopping between the different like emotional states that Cobb like bounces around multiple times in this film. And yeah, I think he's great. I think he can handle the action. I think he can pull off the character.
All right. I was really hoping you narrowed down my pick, and you didn't. You went outside the box, and I didn't see it coming because I had like I think 7 people here that I could possibly cast.
Good luck. we'll talk it out.
Yeah, and I'm between two, and I'll explain which two. I'm between Robert Pattinson and Bradley Cooper.
Okay.
Now, I think they can both play that tortured soul, and I think they can both play the really smart, intelligent character. Pattinson, if you've seen Tenet, I think he's a good match. He has that charisma, kind of the master plan kind of vibe to him that he knows what he's doing. But Pattinson, if you've seen any of his movies, he's very good at playing like trying to stay in control, being out of control, like in Good Time, right?
Right.
So I think he could be really good. And I think Bradley Cooper, if you've seen The Star is Born, man, like playing a tortured soul, he kills it there. So I could really go with either of these. I think I'm going to go with, this is so tough. I'm going to go with Bradley Cooper.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the main reason why is I want him to be more of a leader. And while Pattinson is old enough to play the character, I don't think he quite gives off the leader vibes that I think Bradley Cooper can give off in that role.
All right, fair enough. I will withhold all thoughts till our recap at the end, but all right.
Yeah.
Cool. Bradley Cooper. Let's do it.
So next, let's move on to Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character, Arthur. It's a pretty integral part of the story and definitely one of the best action scenes, I think, of the 2010s he's involved in, that spinning hallway scene. So Nick, who did you cast in that role?
I was torn between two. Literally as of, let's see the time, 10 seconds ago, I made my final decision. My backup, I almost went with Rami Malek. I think but I was also like, I don't know. I feel like my other pick just wouldn't be able to sell the action. That action scene. Here's a few other stuff as well. Like he would sell the action really well. I think he does great in like a supporting like role category. So I went with Aldous Hodge from Leverage, from One Night in Miami. I think he has he's going to be playing Hawkman in a few years. Like I think he has the build to like be bouncing around that hallway. I think he does great and just like being that very like subtle like very quiet, quiet, subtle, charismatic presence, but it's like a quiet type of charisma. If you've seen like Leverage, he's often like this like he's the guy that's always kind of like bouncing off of like everyone, and like in similar in One Night in Miami, he's not the most like vibrant out of the other three actors like in that cast, but he's always like still like you feel like he's still integral, he's still like fully present, he sees more than he's like letting on. And I think that, especially since there's like that back and forth between Arthur and Cobb of like Arthur like kind of like knows when Cobb's like on the edge, I think Aldous Hodge would be a great pick to like bring that presence to the story.
Interesting. It's not who I thought of, but I'm not mad at it. I ended up going with, and I'm sorry I skipped out on Ryan Gosling. Sorry, Ryan. But I ended up going with Taron Egerton.
Mr. Rocketman.
Yeah, he has a lot of charisma, but I think he has the kind of, he can have it in moments. Like, he can definitely do action, that's for sure. We've seen him do that in different films. Kingsman especially is what comes to mind. And I think he can have that more withdrawn side to him, because I think he's really good in quiet moments in films. And I think that can be you expand that to the role of someone who's more like the cool level head. I think he has the potential, and I think it's interesting because it's something we haven't really seen him do before, which I think is always a cool thing for actors. So I think he could play that role really well, and I think he would be really good at pushing back at my Cobb, which is Bradley Cooper. I think that dynamic would work well. So that's my pick. But awesome. Let's move on to Elliot Page. Now, Elliot Page's character, Adriana, right?
Yeah, I think that's it.
She's the master. She's not the master planner, but she kind of is the master planner. She's the architect. That's right.
Yeah.
Because they made this like different films, like at different roles in a movie. But she's the architect. She's the smartest one there, who can pull off this Inception. So Nick, who did you choose to pull off the Inception?
Let's see. Well, there's also you described her perfectly. There's also the fact that she's like the audience like entry point. Like she's the one everyone has to like end up explaining a lot of stuff to, and she's the kind of one asking like poking holes in like others like arguments or whatever. Ultimately, I decided to go with our chess grandmaster herself, Anya Taylor-Joy. I think she's wait, sorry, did I freeze?
Yeah, you froze. Yeah.
Okay, I'll look at that. Sorry, my bad. Internet's being
no, there's nothing you can do about it.
All right, I'll start over.
Son of a gun.
I went with our chess grandmaster, Anya Taylor-Joy. I think if you look at, I'm going to pull from other, like, her performance in Split, she's Split, Queen's Gambit, and, like, here's my Peaky Blinders reference because she popped in there as well. Those trio of performances, you kind of hit all the stuff, like, the character of our Adriana, like, needs. It's, like, she's like the like most like innocent of the batch. She kind of doesn't know what's happening, but she's also not afraid to like voice her mind and like be like totally direct and like call everyone out on their BS. All the scenes with her and Cobb, or like a lot of like her like untangling Cobb's like complicated mental state. I think Anya Taylor-Joy is just able to like hold her own in anything you put her in, and I think she'll be fully capable of like bringing that like kind of like uncertainty, but that like confidence as she's like, I don't know what's happening, but I'm not gonna like be run over. I'll stand. I'll plant my feet down. I think she's more than capable of pulling that off.
Awesome. I can't even hate on it. I gotta be honest. I can't even hate on it. I decided to go in a different way, and I almost picked Saoirse Ronan actually, but I decided against it. I think she's I haven't seen her in anything like this.
Right.
So I went with Haley Steinfeld.
Okay.
She's a proven actress. I think she has a great energy to her and can kind of be the more like wholly like rounded innocent person. If you've seen her in Edge of 17, it's about her kind of learning about the real world. And into Inception, that's kind of what it is for Adriana's character.
Mhm.
And I think she can play really smart very well. She plays that in Edge of 17. I really love that movie. She's great in True Grit. I think she might be an Oscar nominated actress from True Grit.
I think so. Yeah, she is.
Um, if you've seen Bumblebee, she has charisma. She has a ton of charisma. She carries that movie. That movie does not work without her being as charismatic and really pushing everything forward like she does. And now she's Kate Bishop, right? And that's all for a reason. That's who she's. She's a good mix of action. She can fit in blockbuster films, and she brings an energy to screen that I think could be really helpful. And she has that innocent kind of side of her that she can portray.
Right.
So I think she could make a really good Adriana for the film. And I think she could really interact well with Bradley Cooper. I think that would be a killer interaction between the two of them.
All of this is going back to who can interact with our Leo DiCaprio casting. There's some interesting dynamics we're creating, I have to say.
100%. Let's move on to the next casting. No, it's okay. Let's move on to the next casting. So we have Marion Cotillard, right?
Mm-hmm.
And her character's name is Mal.
Yeah.
Who did you choose to play Mal?
This one, funny enough, was the one I kind of like. I was scrolling through Letterboxd and then like I saw like the one movie and I was like, you know what? I think she could really sell it. I think because this one is a bit of a chemistry test if you've seen Fargo. So I went with Mary Elizabeth Winstead from Scott Pilgrim, 10 Cloverfield Lane, Birds of Prey, and then of course Fargo. She and Mcgregor have already they've played like a couple in Fargo, and so that they already are well in tune with each other. I think Winstead, if you like, she's really good if you look at like being that sort of like really like not dead on inside, but like that sort of like hollowed out like persona, like a very like she's in some ways Mal's like the quote unquote and main antagonist of the film, and I think Winstead is able to bring that like sort of like unpredictable intensity. You don't know when Mal is going to show up. You don't know what she'll do or what she'll say to Cobb, and I think Winstead brings that like just unpredictable energy. Again, to just refer to Fargo, but also in like bits of like Birds of Prey and even in Scott Pilgrim, there's like a level of like reserved nature that I think serves the character really well. And if you've seen 10 Cloverfield Lane, she's really good at being a very like emotional powerhouse. And I think again, probably chemistry casting move, but she'd work great with Mcgregor as she already has in the past.
Right. I did not see that coming, but you know what? I'm for it. But what I'm for even more is Rachel Weisz playing that character. I think she's a great actress. I think my Cobb is a little bit older than Bradley Cooper, so I need someone who's a little bit older to kind of fit that role to make it more believable. I think Rachel Weisz is a really great actress, and I think she needs to help be the emotional core of this movie, and I think she can really do that. And I think she'd have great chemistry with Bradley Cooper because I think anyone would because it's Bradley Cooper. Right. And if you've seen her in The Favorite, she's just next level. I don't love that movie, but I love her performance, and I love Olivia Colman and Emma Stone's performance too. It's a weird movie, but she's really, really good, and I really think I can buy the craziness and the struggle in a relationship between her and Bradley Cooper.
For sure. Okay, Rachel Weisz. I'm down for it.
Now, we'll save the best for last. So our second to last casting will be Killian Murphy. Okay. Now, Killian Murphy's character, I believe he's called Fishburne. Fisher.
Yeah, there it is.
I was thinking of Lawrence Fishburne, I don't know why, but Fisher. Who did you end up casting as the Killian Murphy?
this was really tricky because I love Killian Murphy and I think he's so good at like what he does. And this character is like really tricky because it's like he's kind of has in the beginning he has that like kind of cocky like businessman like whatever, but like as the film goes on, he's forced to like you see him become like this more like you see the emotional like stuff like it's like getting like pulled out of him. And I feel like Murphy does such a great job. And it's like who can replicate that sort of like I keep saying replicate. It really shouldn't be replicate, but just who can tap into that like energy the same way he does. I almost cast Lakeith Stanfield, but that's because I saw Judas and the Black Messiah yesterday, and I was like, I don't know, Lakeith is just maybe a bit too young for like how like the vibes Fisher gives off in the film. So ultimately, I decided to go with the God of Mischief, Tom Hiddleston, instead. A bit of my unorthodox one, especially since this isn't like Hiddleston's normal like role, but I think he can be that he can fit both phases of Fisher's character. We know he can do cocky. He's done it in how many Marvel movies, even in bits of like Kong Skull Island. He's done that he's got that like chip on his shoulder. But then I think like especially if you look at the miniseries The Night Manager, which I highly recommend. It's on I think it's still on Amazon. He can really portray another like haunted like person who has like so much like baggage, and he's like a person who's like trying to like push forward even though he's carrying all this stuff behind him. And I think it'd be a really cool like I guess I don't know like sort of typecast like, and similar to how like I don't know, I think it would be work against the typecast. Like here he starts as like kind of the cocky like character, but then you see him kind of like deconstructed along the way. I think he'd bring a lot of like great presence to that character.
I agree-ish.
Okay.
So that's interesting. We'll come back to Tom Hiddleston. We'll come back to
it.
All right. But Killian Murphy, he's the put together but not really put together character. And I gave you a preview before of who this was going to be. I almost picked Matt Smith actually, but decided against it.
Okay.
I went with the guy who was almost my Cobb, Robert Pattinson.
All right.
He's already playing a billionaire who's broken mentally.
This is true.
In the Batman. If you've seen any film, he's really good at playing these characters who really don't have their life figured out, who are making bad decision after bad decision or put in crazy situations. He plays not put together extremely well. I mean, if you see it in The Devil all the time, he plays that crazy. You see him as confident, and then 2 scenes later, you see him as just kind of pathetic,
right,
kind of weakling character, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think Robert Pattinson could pull that turn as Fisher in this film really, really well.
I mean, I can't complain. I'll give my greater thoughts, but I mean, I can't. It's Robert Pattinson.
Yeah, it definitely is. Now let's go to the last one I have. Let me know if I skipped over anyone, but Tom Hardy, the man, the myth, the legend, maybe with one of my favorite scenes in this movie where he's like, you have to dream bigger, and pulls out the rocket launcher.
Yeah.
It's Tom Hardy. He's just awesome. You know what I mean? He's just an awesome actor. So his character of Eames, or I think that's how you say his name. I can't remember the film that well. It's been a while, but
I think so.
I had 2 people, but let's see if you can narrow it down to one and make my life easier. Who did you choose for this role?
Just for that scene that you mentioned, like you got to hit like a right level of like quirky energy, but also like sarcasm, like high level of sarcasm, just to sell that like one line. And like he's not like it's kind of like in the middle of like how important his character is and how much he appears in the film, but like Tom Hardy just does such a good job selling that. So I decided to cast big in the sense of like you just need someone to help like compensate the relatively small writing the character has, and like but match the memorability of how Tom Hardy did it. So I ultimately went with another Batman. I decided to go with Christian Bale because I thought like he can there's like the one scene where like Hardy like is trying to like talk to like like whoever's chasing Cobb and like to give Cobb to escape and he's like carrying out a whole conversation. I'm just picturing like Christian Bale can totally sell that like that self-confidence, that swagger. We know he can from Ford v Ferrari. We know he can from his Bruce Wayne scenes in any of the Dark Knight movies. And I think he's like really good at being just full of swagger and also like has that little like unique energy, not necessarily off kilter, just like unique energy. Um yeah, I think like it's Christian Bale. We can just like another one we can just kind of throw in there and like he'll be like entertaining and always reliable in the role. And yeah, that's who my pick from. That's my Eames. It's Christian Bale. From Bane, we casted Batman instead.
I'm going to do something we don't normally do, and that is cast someone that you've casted too, but then you casted them in a different role.
Okay, I have my suspicion, but okay.
Loki himself, Tom Hiddleston. I think he's perfect. I think that scene, I can picture Tom Hiddleston saying that with the confidence of Loki. I think carrying out that dinner conversation before the chase scene, I think he brings that intensity. I think he's the perfect kind of level of star where you're not like, oh, you cast like, why would he fits that role as a supporting character really, really well. And I just buy it on every level because he, without being a huge physical presence, he has that energy and confidence. Loki's character oozes confidence, and I think Tom Hiddleston can push that through in this character, and I think that's what's vital to this film for that role.
Okay, interesting. I'm surprised we haven't run into this. We haven't had this predicament earlier on, but interesting. Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, it's taken this many episodes. But do we want to get into the wrap up now?
Yeah, a little wrap up. Do you need mine again?
Yeah, let me pull out my notebook so I can write it down because I'm not good at remembering otherwise, as we've seen from prior episodes. But yeah, hold on.
So Cobb is Mcgregor. Arthur is Aldous Hodge. Ariadne or Adriana is Taylor Joy. Bale is Eames. Hiddleston is my Murphy, or yeah, that works. Or Fisher. And then Mary Elizabeth Winstead is my Mal.
So my favorite one, before we get to mine, is Taylor Joy. I think she's perfect. I was really pissed that I didn't think about her for this one because I think she fits every single definition of the role.
Right. Okay.
And Queen's Gambit's a perfect example to use for the kind of mind that you need, and I think it would perfectly translate to Inception.
Okay.
I like Hiddleston. I feel like the role isn't quite the fit for him there. I mean, I'm a little biased, of course.
Fair enough.
And Mary Elizabeth and Mcgregor.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm sold on Mcgregor for that role.
Okay.
I'm like close, but like I'm almost there, but I feel like there's just something that's missing from him that I would go to see the movie, but there's not that excitement. It's not Leonardo DiCaprio's leading movie for me. You know what I mean?
Fair enough.
Which I guess it's hard to get these days. It's not Leonardo DiCaprio.
Right.
But I really like Bale. I like Aldous, and I'm on the fence with Mary Elizabeth.
Okay.
Because I feel like casting McGregor and Elizabeth it's those two characters are complementary. And I think they work well together, but I don't know if they work well together in those roles.
All right. Fair enough. I understand those arguments.
And these are the arguments that happen.
All right.
When
So going
to cast a film.
Right. All right. So let's see. Rachel Weisz as Mal. I haven't seen enough of Rachel Weisz, so I can't say like I'm against it. But like from what I understand of like how she is, and like from what I have seen her in like The Mummy and what was the other movie? Constantine. I buy it. I can see it. I just haven't seen enough of her to be like 100% like, but that's just like on me, like not having seen enough. Haley Steinfeld, I really like. I mean, I like Haley Steinfeld or Anya Taylor-Joy. Either one would have been fine. They're both so great at what they do. Bradley Cooper is also really well. I love The Star Is Born. That's a great performance to like pull from. Yeah, Bradley Cooper is really good. I really enjoyed that. Who are the last ones? Pattinson and Hiddleston. Well, Hiddleston, for obvious reasons, I'm like on the fence about. For obvious reasons, I'm choosing between him, so I won't go in any more in depth there. Pattinson, for some, it's so weird. I'm like, as much as a big fan of him, I'm like, is this the normal like Pattinson character? Just because like Pattinson's characters always seem so like desperate and like out of control, which I feel like Fisher kind of has it together. It's just a matter of like spoilers for the movie, but like seeing his like father again and stuff. It's more of like an honest emotional turn rather than like being like crazy and like unstable. I think he'd be great in the role. Just I'm like, this would be an anomaly in like Pattinson's like characters. As for Taryn, I'm like torn on because I feel like the characters like Eggsy and Elton John are so like vibrant and energetic. It's like Arthur's like very like monotone in ways. Like he's the most subtle person in the movie. So like it's another one that I don't think he'll be bad, and it'll just be like odd just on paper, just considering his previous characters. But other than that, I buy those. For me, for sure, it's Cooper and Steinfeld that I'm really like sold on, for sure.
And with that wraps up this episode of Fancasting. I think this is one of our better casts that we've come up with from both of us.
Yeah.
But let us know what you guys thought down in the comment section down below. Did you like the cast? Whose cast do you think was better? Was there someone who we missed in a role? Let us know. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the video, and we'll see you next time.
Peace out.